Tonia was having an exciting time gisting with her bosom friend Bukala. Their friendship has so far celebrated a decade and a half of love and peace. Tonia just got a job in Lagos, Nigeria, so she had to relocate to Lagos from Abuja. She is now in Lagos, staying with Bukala. Tonia's auntie is happily married and doing well in Lagos, but her bond with Bukala has been strong enough to outdo the option of choosing to stay with her auntie. Luckily, Bukala has been in Lagos long enough and equally doing well. The nature of her job takes her round through the nooks and cranny of the city. She is conversant enough to give Tonia directions when needed. But ultimately, Tonia will always prefer a very good and reliable friend to some kind of family members. It's been less than 1 month since she relocated to Lagos. A friend of Bukala was getting married in Ikotekpene in Akwa Ibom State. Bukala insisted that Tonia must travel with her for the marriage. Tonia was delighted to go with her. She loved exploring new places and things and figured that she couldn't miss the opportunity for anything. It was on a Saturday morning, which was exactly 1 week to the wedding. Tonia and Bukala were at the local airport to book their flight. Though they intended to travel by Thursday of the following week, which was 2 days before the wedding, they decided to make early bookings, hoping to have cheaper deals. As they hurriedly walked through the sea of vehicles in the car park, they were almost running to escape the drizzling weather. They joked and laughed at each other at the lobby. As they walked through the lobby, a uniformed security officer directed them to the ticket office of Ibom Airline. They appreciated his kindness and moved fast towards the direction given. When they got to the ticket office, Tonia reached for the door, but the door gently swung open from inside. Tonia looked straight at Bassi and he just looked at her, wondering why she was staring. They both stood there, staring questioningly into each other's eyes. Tonia and Bassi were both lost in nothing for a couple of seconds. Bassi, who was the person that opened the door to exit the office, quickly regained his composure and gestured Tonia to step inside. It took Bukala's touch for Tonia to realize herself and moved inside. Bassi stepped out of the office into the big hall, and after taking about 4 steps away from the door, he felt his hip pocket with his right hand to be sure that his cell phone was there. Then he turned around and looked at Tonia, who was standing inside facing him. Tonia was standing inside the office, staring through the glass door at Bassi. When Bassi's eye met hers again, he turned his head and walked away. Tonia was still retrospectively wondering why her encounter with Bassi had to pull such a strong effect on her. "Babe, get yourself together, you do embarrass me. Abi, you sabi the guy." By the time they had completed their bookings, the airport plaza was looking busier than it earlier was. They had it easy and smooth, and they excitedly walked across the big hall towards the exit. They got outside the airport plaza and the rain had subsided. The weather was clearer, calm and beautiful. Tonia and Bukala got into the car looking happy and relaxed. "Now I need to ask you this, because it's been on my mind since the incident at the ticketing office." Tonia looked curiously at Bukala and asked, "What's that?" "What was that whole drama with that guy about?" Bukala asked. "Oh, the guy that opened the door, oh my gosh. I don't know." Tonia responded. "Abi, is he your Mr. Right?" "No. God forbid. I don't know him from anywhere." At that point, she paused briefly. "Years," she almost screamed. "That's it. That's the guy. Now I remember very well. That's the guy at the shopping mall." Tonia gist Bukala the negligible incident at Century Shopping Mall 2 weeks earlier. This is what happened. Tonia was there to shop for a few items at the mall. When she was done, she got to the cashier to make payment. But there were some other people there already before her. Tonia waited for her turn, and when it was her turn to make payment, she brought out her MasterCard to make payment. But the card fell off her hand to the floor. She quickly put back her purse into her bag and moved backward to look for her card on the floor. With her swift movement, she accidentally bumped into Bassie, who was just standing right behind her, busy on social media on his phone, while waiting for his turn. Then she turned around and faced him. "Oh, I am so sorry," she said. Bassie casually looked at her briefly, removed one of his earpiece and said, "No problem," and looked away from her onto the floor. Seeing the card on the floor, he bent down to pick the card for her. Tonia equally saw the card and bent to pick it up. Incidentally, they both bumped against each other's heads. Tonia held her head with one hand and shifted backward. She stood up, looking at him as he picked up the card. Giving the card to her, he simply said, "Don't worry about it," with an indifferent expression on his face. He looked clean and handsome. Kind of a gentleman. Tonia was quick to observe, especially his nice clean haircut and well-trimmed bears. He quickly returned his attention to his phone. Tonia, who was still feeling sorry, said thanks and gave the card to the cashier to make payment. Bukala, who was enjoying the gist while driving back from the airport, laughed and said, "Was that the same guy?" "Yes, he was," Tonia confirmed. "He is cute though. Is it fate or just a coincidence?" Bukala wondered aloud. "Keep that fate to yourself," Tonia dismissed. She wasn't interested in relationship and she had never been in one. Bukala took a quick look at her and said, "Babe, this is Lagos and I bet you will be in a relationship and fall in love before you know it. Unless you are planning to go to the convent and become a reverend sister," Bukala advised. "Thanks, I will keep your advice on the convent in mind. For now, just drive," Tonia said. Back in their apartment, they were visited by a friend, Sarah. Bukala brought up the gist about their encounter with Bassie. They gisted extensively, making fun of her and basically advising her to make herself available for love. They insisted that it was a sign of love. But Tonia was 34 and had never been in a relationship. She seemingly wasn't keen at it and didn't even know why or bothered. When the scheduled day for their traveling came, they embarked on their journey. The journey to Akwaboom State was smooth. They arrived safely and peacefully. The serenity of the state offered an entirely different experience from what they were used to. The air felt fresh, the atmosphere, the neatness of the roads was magnificent. Bukala admitted to have heard good things about the state, but to Tonia, experiencing the beautiful life and people of the state in person was wonderful. A complete contrast from what she was used to. They got to their hotel room and got themselves ready for the following day's wedding. The wedding turned out to be a grand ceremony in grand style. Everything went so well. Lots of people turned up looking so beautiful as expected from a wedding in this part of the world. Tonia and Bukala also graced the occasion in style, looking so beautiful and attractive. At some point at the wedding, Tonia was left sitting alone with other guests, as Bukala decided to go and have a cheerful moment with the bride, who was her friend. She asked Tonia to go with her, but Tonia was not ready for the struggle through the crowd of other well-wishers. Tonia smiled so graciously and raised to look at the lady that was seemingly talking to her. She realized that the lady was not talking to her and returned her attention to the group chat she was having on her phone. Tonia took 2 spoons of the food she was served. Then she reached for her glass of wine. As she picked up the drink to her mouth, she was shocked to see Bassie as their eyes met. At that point, Bassie, who was sitting 2 tables across, was well positioned to see everything going on with Tonia. He wasn't sure of what was happening right then. He did not even know what to think. He remembered the same girl at the airport, and her interesting stare. Why was this girl everywhere he went? How can he come all the way from Lagos to Akwaboom, and the same girl again? She couldn't have been stalking him all the way here across many states. Could she be a spirit, ghost or something? Is she hunting him? He was wondering when Tonia's eye caught up with his, and she choked. Her drink spilled a bit. What on earth is going on? She couldn't be hallucinating or imagining things, she thought to herself. She looked around for Bukola while trying to tidy up the table, but Bukola was not to be seen. She avoided eyes contact with Bassie and wished that Bukola was there to assure her that she was not imagining things. She abandoned the food and stood up. She went out beside the event hall to clean up the mess on her dress. She reached into her purse and brought out a face wipe tissue, wondering how to go about the cleaning. "That will mess it up badly," a voice said from behind her, and she turned sharply to see him standing behind her and was too close for comfort. She was startled, looking speechlessly at him. Almost as if he wanted to embrace her. Ordinarily, she would have pushed him off in resistance. But now she was stifled in the aura of confusion, fear, embarrassment and uncertainty. Bassie glanced at the stain on her dress. "Why are you stalking me?" Bassie asked. Tonia was too dumbfounded to mumble any semblance of words. Her discomfort deepened. She missed the presence of her friend Bukola. She stood so still that she felt rooted to the ground. She could see other strangers and guests at the wedding reception, occasionally passing so close to them, but none of them were Bukola. "Here, let me help you." Bassie brought out a white handkerchief from his hip pocket and soaked part of it with water from the bottled water he was holding. He used the handkerchief to brush the top of her dress. Tonia was so uncomfortable but feeling hypnotized and helpless to resist. It was right on top of her right breast. And she was feeling it differently. But Bassie appeared to be so free and unperturbed about what was going on. He was so different and surprisingly incongruous in the environment. Tonia seemed to be regaining her composure. So, he is human after all. Tonia thought to herself. Of course I am human. What do I look like? Bassie responded. Another strong wind of embarrassment hit her. She was shocked to realize that she was thinking loud. She wondered how much she had really said to his hearing. She knew that she had to regain her composure to save herself from further embarrassment. She needed to handle the situation the best way possible. Bassie, who was done helping her with her dress, poured more water on his handkerchief to rinse it until the bottle was empty, and he discarded the empty bottle into a nearby waste bin. "Again I ask you, why are you stalking me?" Bassie asked. "You must be very good at it to know so much about it." Tonia responded. She was relieved that her response came out very well. Now she was confident that she could face him, she could find out why he is everywhere she went, she could find out who he really was. "Know so much about what?" Bassie inquired. "About stalking," she replied. Bassie looked curiously and distantly at her for some seconds and looked away. Then he turned again to her. "By the way, my name is Bassie. You probably know my name and have some information about me already for you to be stalking me. Can you please tell me your name for a start?" Bassie requested. "My name is Tonia, and for a start, like you said, how many places have you followed me to?" "Followed you?" Bassie exclaimed, as if making a public announcement with his arms raised wide. Then he turned back to her. "I only saw you at the airport in Lagos the day I was traveling down here. Even when I saw you at the airport, I thought you were familiar, but I couldn't place it, so I left," Bassie said as a matter of fact. Tonia wondered if he was telling the truth. She wondered if she was wrong, but she felt sure that she was right. "What about 3 weeks ago at Century Mall, at the cashier? My card fell to the floor and we both bumped our heads trying to pick the card," Tonia asked. But before she could finish, Bassie had remembered and he screamed, "Yes. Yes. That's it. It was you. I knew at the airport that I've seen that face before. What exactly is going on here?" Bassie asked. "You don't know what is going on here and you still followed me down here, all the way from Lagos," Tonia said casually. "I came here for my cousin's wedding, Clara is my cousin. We grew up together, under the same roof. I have been here for a week today. You know what? Before you tell me how you got here and whole stalking thing, let's get you seated, so that you can comfortably tell me all about it. Bassie got 2 chairs and set them outside the hall at a comfortable spot, and they got talking, clearing the air, and got acquainted. Few minutes in each other's company, their conversation took a friendly turn. It had become more cordial. But they did not know what was coming their way. Quite unfortunate. If only they knew what fate had in stock. They had doubtedly dismissed their frequent runnings into each other to mere coincidences. Though Tonia still wondered what to make of it all, she still had her guards on. But they had gradually loosened up a bit and became friendly. They cracked jokes and made fun, and their laughter was heartwarming. They got impressively acquainted with each other. Tonia laughed and stood up to ease her tiredness from sitting for too long. As she stood resting her back against a parked car, Bassie joined her and stood beside her. From where they were standing, they could still hear the host comedian of the wedding reception making a joke about first kiss. Bassie smiled and said, "I remember my first kiss. Funny and interesting, but long time ago. Felt like my last kiss. I mean, that is what it has been, so far." Bassie said calmly, almost as if talking to himself. Tonia was silent for a while. She was briefly blown to a state of retrospection. Then she spoke, "My first kiss was stolen from me long time ago." Stolen? That must be a robbery, so, what did you do? Bassie reacted. Yeah. I never had the chance to give him the slap he deserved. After a while Bassie retrospectively started talking in a low tone. Sometimes it's fun, and sometimes you just don't know what you are doing. She was very young, maybe 12 or 13. Tonia became disgusted and turned and stared at him, wondering what kind of a man will have a romantic kiss with a child of 12. But she relaxed her judgmental mood when he continued as if answering her question. Bassie was 13 years old with rapid growth. A school bully among his peers. He was just passing through the school hallway with his friends who were more like his disciples back then, when he saw a lonely girl standing at the entrance of her classroom. He looked into the classroom, but it was empty. The rest of the students had gone with their teacher for a physical education which this lonely girl was trying to escape from. He decided to flex his muscles and authority. He commanded the little girl to raise up her both hands and close her eyes. The terrified girl, who was completely surrounded by his friends, did as was commanded. Bassie held her head tight with both hands and kissed her. She opened her eyes as his friends laughed while enjoying the show. Her first kiss taken from her in duress. Tonia couldn't believe what she was hearing. Fear gripped her. She was covered with goose pimples. Her smile had disappeared, her thinking uncertain. Could this be real? She asked herself. She took a deep breath and exhaled heavily. Where did this happen? She asked him. Back in the north, Adamawa State to be precise, about 23 years ago. Bassie informed. Tonia turned to him and slapped him hard across the face. Hey! Excuse me, what was that for? You don't even know the person. We were just kids doing stupid things, for heaven's sake. Bassie cried out. With a stone-cold straight face, Tonia said, "That was for the slap that I couldn't give to you 23 years ago." Every single word she said carried its weight. Bassie stood still and was transfixed. He was shocked to the bones and speechless for a while. He stared curiously at Tonia. He tried to talk, but the words wouldn't come out. He neither knew what to say nor how to say it rightly. Tonia just stared distantly at him. Their cordial and lovely atmosphere was suspended. "Are you?" He tried to say something but couldn't complete the sentence. "Yes, I am the 11-years-old kid that you forced a kiss on, 23 years ago." She revealed coldly, still couldn't believe that fate had brought them to this moment. She was ready for the fight that she couldn't fight back then. The slap was hot and she was ready to give him more. She was sure that a boy of his ego had got much more to fight for. Just then, Bassie moved in and swept her off her feet with his arms around her hips. Swung her round over and over again with unprecedented shouts of joy and excitement. Bassie was instantly convinced that she was the same girl and the only girl he ever kissed. His joy knew no bound. He dropped her and screamed, wow, with joy that was more like a gratitude for a manifested dream. A confused Tonia gradually allowed the concealed smile that was hanging at the side of her cheek to metamorphose to an undiluted excitement. Her fury was long gone. She was still weathering in the euphoria of the moment when Bassie held her and kissed her deeply, and she went with the flow and emptied her heart into the kiss and held him as if she wouldn't let go. The onlookers had chosen a better entertainment in the show of Tonia and Bassie, preferred against what was going on in the reception hall. People that never paid any attention to them were eventually laughing with joy and some applauded. What kind of a stupid thing do you have going here? Why the fight, dance, and then kiss? I don't understand what this is about. A confused Bukala was curious because she had been looking for Tonia inside the hall. She came outside in time to see them standing by the car. She happily decided to excuse them and go back inside, but just then, she saw Tonia slapped Bassie across his face. She wanted to rush and intervene but waited and watched them to see what would happen, like other onlookers. As if making an announcement, Bassie held Tonia's hand and spoke to the people. This is the first and only girl that I ever kissed all my life since I was a child about 23 years ago. Today, this wedding has brought me here to meet her again, and I just had the second kiss of my life. Then he turned to Tonia. I wish it will not be the last kiss, he asked her. I don't know, Tonia replied. Why don't you just give me another kiss now so that you will be sure that it will not be the last, Bassie asked. Again like right now? Tonia asked. Yes, like right now, Bassie said and met her waiting lips with his. Now the applause from the spectators was louder. Almost like forming a semicircle across the main entrance door to the banquet hall that hosted the wedding reception because some curious guests came out from the hall to see what was happening. Bukala was now standing very close to them. She cleared her throat to break the kiss. Okay, so, who exactly are we celebrating today, the wedding couple or you guys? Bukala asked. Bukala, meet Bassie. Tonia introduced. Oh, thank God we now know his name, Bukala said. Bassie, meet, don't bother, I now remember her from the airport. Bassie said. Yes, I remember you too. But the part that I need to understand is the fighting, the dancing and the kissing, all at the same time. Bukala inquired. Bukala, long story, full gist later. Tonia said and turned to face Bassie. Is it really true that you have never kissed any other girl apart from me? Tonia asked. I guess I was jinxed with your childhood stolen kiss. Bassie responded. This got Tonia wondering how to describe fate. She had never kissed any other man. Was fate taking her through the journey of life in search of a man she hardly knew back then as a boy? She left Adamo Estate and spent 7 years in Plateau State where she gained admission and attended university. Then she served Abuja where she spent 4 years of her life before gaining employment to relocate to Lagos. Even though they cross each other's path twice in Lagos, they still had to come all the way to be in the same place in Akwa State to be together. Hope he is not lodging in the same hotel that we lodge in. She was still contemplating all of these in her mind when Bassie said calmly and to her hearing alone, I wish I can be the man to give you your last kiss. Why, are you killing me today, or now? Tonia responded. No, just saying, so that you don't have to kiss another man again. I wasn't planning on becoming a celibate. Tonia informed him with a smile, but Bassie was looking more serious. You don't have to become a celibate, you only have to become mine. My wife, and remain faithful for the rest of your life. Bassie declared. Tonia looked straight into his eyes for a few seconds. Her smile gradually fading into seriousness. Her probing eyes penetrating him deeply. She glanced at Bukala hoping she heard what Bassi just said. She looked at him and said with every sense of seriousness, "I have never kissed any man all my life, apart from you." Bassi attention converged, and his heart almost exploded. Subscribe to this channel for more of interesting stories. Stay blessed.